Dankam, you know. What in tarnation is going on in here? Corsair sent out their Frame 4000D PC case and told us to build something cool. Or else. Or else what? I don't know, but I ain't trying to find out. You know what I'm saying? I feel ya. Now tell them about the case. Ah yes, the Corsair FRAME 4000D. Did you know that the original 4000D is one of the best-selling PC cases on the market? Well, it looks like Corsair has upgraded the original and made it even better, because while this case looks relatively simple, there's actually a whole lot going on with it. So let's go ahead and jump into it, and we'll start off with the exterior and the front. We have this new 3D Y pattern for the front, which Corsair says is good for up to 12% better airflow. We've got our I/O down at the bottom. We've got a power button. We've got a combo audio jack, 2 USB-A and a USB-C. We've got a pretty sizable gap going all the way around the case at the bottom, so we can get a lot of fresh air into our power supply and into the rest of the chassis. We've got glass on the side. We've got a really interesting design down here that we'll talk about more a bit later, because there's actually a lot you can do with it. The top is pretty much completely mesh. Here is the back panel, which is mostly solid, except for ventilation over here on the side, where side fans can be placed, so those can get fresh air. Here is the rear of the case. We've got that same Y pattern for our rear fan ventilation. Our motherboard's gonna sit over here. Here's our PCIe slot covers, and one cool thing about this little bracket is you can actually loosen these two captive screws and rotate this 90 degrees, so you can vertically mount your GPU. And our power supply is gonna sit horizontally down here. Then we also have this little cover that's for the Corsair Link system. You can see it says Link on it. It's basically a cable pass-through. Let's go ahead and pop this back in. And Corsair said they really focused on modularity with this case. Modular, eh? How so? So to start, the case can basically be stripped down to a shell, and you can assemble most of the PC outside of the case. And then here is the front panel that comes with the case, but Corsair has teased multiple different front panels that you can swap this one out with. So you can have a completely different look. And there's actually some listed on Corsair's website right now. So there may be even more in the future. So that'll be cool to see. And then one rumor I heard is you can actually swap out the I/O panel for a different one. So maybe something with more USB-A or USB-C. So we'll have to see what comes of that. And then this panel down here, this sits down here on the side, and they teased a screen that would replace that sits right here. So you can monitor your system vitals or put whatever else you want on it. So that'll be cool what comes with that whenever that gets released. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the pieces that I removed from the case. So we'll start off with this one. So this has this semi-transparent piece installed, but what you can do is, this is gonna be difficult to do one-handed. Let's see if I can do it, but you can actually remove this. And I'm already messing this up, there we go. So you can remove this and reinstall it. So now you have unobstructed airflow into like the bottom fans and the PSU. But if you don't want to be able to see like all of your cables down here, or maybe you have some SATA drives installed, you can install this piece, which is obviously not transparent at all. So you can completely black it out and you wouldn't be able to see anything down here. But I think I'm gonna go this route because I want the best airflow possible. So this is the PSU shroud piece. So you can mount your bottom fans on here and then install them. And another cool thing is with this piece removed, you have really easy access to this little SATA drive caddy. So if you're running SATA drives, you don't have to worry about the PSU shroud being in the way. And then we have this piece right here, which I kind of talked about earlier, but this is the PCIe slot bracket. And you can rotate this 90 degrees on the back of the case, so you can vertically mount a GPU. This is the side bracket that is installed from the factory, and it has a built-in GPU sag bracket that is adjustable. But if you wanted to, you can remove this and replace it with this bracket so you can mount fans to it. So you can run a ton of fans in this case, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. And then let's say you are running this bracket. Obviously, you're going to lose the ability to use this GPU sag bracket, but you can actually remove this little bracket that sits on this piece, and you can transfer it to this piece, and then this gets installed right here. So you don't lose the ability to have a GPU sag bracket if you're running this side fan bracket. So they've kind of really thought of everything with this case. So let's see what else we got. So here is the motherboard tray. So you can mount your motherboard to it, then reinstall it back in the case. And if you flip it around, we have another drive caddy and a little slot for their link system if you're using their fans. And they've also included this little magnetic piece to cover up the little cavities that you see if you're running a reverse connect motherboard, or if you're running a traditional motherboard. So this sits right here, and it's not going to really look that good because it's not installed in the case, but that'll sit right here and block those kind of large cavities that you'll normally see. So let's go ahead and reassemble the PC a little bit and then talk about some other stuff with the case. So the Frame 4000D will come with 3 dust filters. We have one that gets installed on the front. We have one that is hidden down here for the power supply. And then we have one that is magnetized to the back panel. So all 3 of these are removable and you can clean them when you need to. It comes in black or white, and there's 3 different versions available. There's one with no fans, that's $95 USD. There's one with 3 non-RGB fans, that's $100 USD. And then there's the one we have here, which is $110 USD, and it comes with 3 RGB fans, and they're the Corsair RS120 fans. It can support up to eATX size motherboards, and there's a ton of room for different fans. So at the bottom, you can run 2 120mm fans. On the rear, you can run a 120 or 140. On the front, you can run up to 3 120s, up to 2 140s, or 2 200mm fans. On the top, you can fit up to 3 120s, up to 2 140s, or 2 160s. And then if you're running the side bracket, you can run up to 3 120s or up to 2 140s. And they use the InfiniRail system is what Corsair is calling it. So basically you have this screw right here, and then you have these tabs. So if you're running 120s, you're gonna mount the 120s to this these little tabs right here. But let's say you're running 140s, you would loosen this screw, slide it over to the left, and that will actually move this rail over here. So then you mount the 140s to these tabs, but this rail will be moved over. And then when it's also over here, you can remove these tabs and then mount your 200mm fans actually onto these rails. Then the same thing goes for the top. You can see here is one of them right here. I'm sorry if it's really dark, but you can loosen the Phillips head screw and then move these depending on which size fans you're running. And for radiator support, you got up to a 360 millimeter on the front, on the side, and on the top. And then you can also fit a 120 or 140 millimeter radiator on the back. So a massive amount of options for this case. Let's go ahead and take a look at the back. We have a bunch of tie downs right here for cable management. We've got some right here. And another thing I didn't mention about this piece right here, it also acts as like a shroud. So if we take a look from the front, this will block like all of our motherboard 24 pin right here and our USB-C for the front panel. So that's going to be clean for cable management. And then we have all of our front panel connectors, and all these are pretty standard. We've got our HD audio. We've got our USB-A, USB-C, and then we have a unified front panel connector. So that should be clean. And then we also have this little cable sleeve right here to kind of clean these up a little bit. I may go a little bit extra with this. We'll see once I get into the build, but you guys know me with cable management. I go absolutely crazy, but so far this is looking like a really cool case. Let me move this out of the way, and I actually can't wait to build in this thing. I'm thinking a full-on RGB build for this bad boy. No. Noctua also reached out and they said they want to see the stealthiest and quietest build they've ever seen. Or else. Well then, we better get to it. I gotta admit, this was definitely the way to go. I 100% agree with you on that. Doing a full blacked out build was absolutely the way to go, because this looks so unbelievably cool. And although with the panels on, there's not much to see, just know that there's a monster living inside this PC case. Let's do a quick little sweep of the exterior. Then we'll take off all the panels and we can see where the magic happens. So here she is in all of her glory. And it's been so long since I've done an air-cooled build. And I just forgot how simple and elegant a blacked out build like this is with no RGB, no AIO. So simple, so quiet, and so effective too. The build consists of a GIGABYTE B850 Aorus Elite Wi-Fi 7 motherboard. We've got a Ryzen 7800X3D CPU. We've got Noctua NF A12X25 fans all the way around. And the CPU cooler is a Noctua NH-U12A. Got 64 gigabytes of Corsair RAM. We've got a Corsair Gen 5 2TB NVMe. We've got a GIGABYTE Aorus Master 5070 Ti. Then let's take a look at the back. And then we've got the Corsair RM1000X Shift PSU. So these power supplies are really interesting because all of the connections are on this side. Because you can see there's the back of it, just like normal, but all the connections are on this side, so much easier to access all your cables. And speaking of cables, here is the finished cable management. Honestly, way better than I thought it was gonna turn out to be. Because a lot of people are always saying that I use fans that are easy for cable management, but this time we've got 11 Noctua fans with 11 cables and a hub. And I was able to hide all of them extremely well. And honestly, this may be the best cable management that I've ever done. Got our motherboard 24 pin right there. CPU cables are tucked on this right side. The GPU goes underneath, and then almost everything is hidden behind here. And you can see down there, those glowing lights, that's the Noctua fan hub. So everything is down there. So let me get a little bit more light. So there are some cables down there, but honestly, not even that much. And all of them are pretty much hidden still. So I'm extremely happy with the cable management on this one. Even on the front, like even on the top side, there's no cables. I was able to tuck everything away so clean. Let's take a look at the back again. Almost all of my fan cables are actually tucked right here, which are out of the way and out of sight. But I think I've outdone myself again with this bad boy. Did you run some stress tests? So I ran a 20-minute stress test using OCCT for the CPU and the GPU. And after about 20 minutes, the 7800X3D got up to about 79 degrees Celsius, which is fantastic for the CPU and being air-cooled. That cooler's doing a great job, so are all of the fans. So very happy with the benchmark test. And during gaming, I was sitting below 60s to mid 60s. So very good for CPU temps, and the GPU didn't even get over 65 in the test. This GPU has a massive cooler on it. And then with the addition of all the Noctua fans, it ran extremely cool. And then most games were in the low 60s. So very, very cool running build and quiet.